Hey friends, welcome back to Advanced Weekly Update. Today, politics. Politics. They come from this Latin word polis, P-O-L-I-S. That means the city. You get the word police, the people that protect the city, from the same word polis. It might be Greek. That is a Greek word, I think. But we get the word politics, the business of city-state management. But now we use that word for government, right?
Right, government of the city.
That's right. Yeah. So it has been a very political week on the island here, but it's also a very political time in the United States. We're gearing up for a big election. I say we're kind of far away from it. You know.
Yeah, we're watching them gear up for a big election.
That term gear up means get ready. So I'm gearing up to go outside. It means I'm getting the things I need to be ready to go. So do you gear up for politics, or do you clench up? Clench up means get all tense. I know politics, you were saying, can stir up the deep emotions.
Right. There's a saying in English and Western culture, never talk about religion or politics.
That's right.
Because both of them, what people feel about politics and what people believe about religion, go to the deepest questions of life. You know, why are human beings here? What are we here for? Who is God? Is there a God? How should human beings control other human beings? Because that's what politics involves sooner or later at some point. Some people controlling other people in some way. So it's very volatile issues, very emotional issues.
And it can often be violent. So we do want to have grace when we talk about this, but we're friends here on Advanced, and most importantly, we're friends, but also importantly, we're learning the vocabulary you and we need to navigate the English news that's out there. There are a lot of great sources in all languages, but the first discussion question, please respond below. Practice your English. Do you read international news in English? And if so, where? Do you subscribe to CNN, The Guardian, or like Al Jazeera, a news site that's not originally in English but can be translated? What do you do? And our poll question today, I'm curious, what political topic occupies, that means takes up, your thinking the most? What occupies your thinking? What do you think about? The environment? It's looking like 50% of our viewers are saying the environment. Military situations, local laws, your local government. Nobody's voted for that yet. All right, or international trade laws. Wow, a lot of these. Get out of here. No, but oftentimes these are crossover, right? The political situation on the Red Sea is affecting international trade, so we'll see what happens. Let's talk about the environment first. Here in Taiwan, we are very environmentally conscious, and there's this word we need to know, conservation.
Conservation.
It's like the word conservative, right?
Right, and the verb to conserve, to protect something, to keep it from not being there anymore, to conserve it, to protect it. And so in this context, conserve means conservation of nature.
That's right.
The environment.
Yeah, you could also use that word, conserve your energy, don't get tired. But conserving nature is very important. One other topic for the environment, pollution, right? Air pollution, smog, S-M-O-G, smog is one of our words here. We talk a lot about emissions when we're talking about air pollution, right? To emit, E-M-I-T, means to let something out.
Right, yeah.
Emissions means the smoke and pollution that's let out into the air, typically.
Right. If you've ever been in an elevator with someone and they have bad breath, you could say they are emitting bad breath.
There we go.
We'll get to the rest of the body in a moment, but right now, just breath. But that is an emission.
That's
the breath, the good or bad, the breath that we emit every day, that's an emission.
Cars have emissions, especially, gas vehicles, so you don't want to be in a closed space with those emissions. But environment, there's another word you'll see a lot, deforestation. I bet you could just guess if you don't know that one already. But deforestation is a big issue when forests are being cut down and maybe not replanted. So this affects the environment. We talked about the word smog, right? You might know that one already, but smog, especially here in Southeast Asia, we're very smog conscious. Things have gotten better in a lot of ways, but it's still an issue. Air pollution or smog. Finally, in recycling, there's this term, renewables. You know, if you renew your subscription to Netflix, you start it over again.
Right.
But renewables are its own thing.
Right. In the context of protecting the environment and conservation, renewable is a form of energy that we can keep using without having to use up natural resources for it.
That's right. Sort of. You know, it often takes like some lithium mining to get to renewables.
Oh, yeah. It's not that we don't use natural resources at all, but the point is that once we get it going, it does not require us to use up all the natural resources. It is a renewable source.
That's right.
Like solar power.
Solar
for
power
example, is
wind
renewable.
Power.
The sun's always going to be there, so it's a renewable source of energy. Trees and forests can be a source of energy or used for a source of energy, but obviously they are not renewable because we can cut them down faster than they can grow up.
That's right. So as opposed to coal or something you might dig up. All right, renewable, but now let's talk about the real stuff of politics, geopolitical politics. If something is geopolitical, it means it involves the governments of the world. So geopolitics, we have that word geology or geography.
Right. And geopolitics, like he was saying, can involve multiple countries and their political relationships. It can also involve how a country's politics are affected by their geography.
Yes.
Like the politics of Saudi Arabia compared to the politics of Tibet or some country in a mountainous region or some country by the ocean, how the geography affects their political stance.
Yes, Brian, hi. Oh, thank you, Brian. Thank you, everybody. Copy Brian. He's letting us know what he reads. Okay, Brian, you say, I read international news from time to time. Nice use of that idiom. They're mostly from my email subscriptions. Yes, that's one way. Google News is helpful too, though you get stuck in the algorithm. American Press, Washington Post, etc. Excellent. You know, publishing news is difficult, but getting a really good magazine that has great, interesting reporting is a pleasure. Well, cool, thank you, and good job practicing. Those are great resources for connecting your English to the actual world. And actually, you should join and subscribe to our magazine. Not only because Peter and I have families, we need to eat, we need you, we do, but also because we have web links to outside reading. So you can read and practice your vocab, and we'll give you a web link to an outside source, typically a non-subscription. So we don't do the New York Times as much. But we'll send you to another website where you can actually read with no help in the real world, which I'm sure many of you are very capable of doing. Okay, back to geopolitics. In geopolitics, there's this one word, tensions. You often talk about tensions in a region are rising. What does that mean?
Yeah, tension. There's another word you might know, tense.
Yeah.
If there is tension, like between John and me, which there never is, but if there were tension between him and me, it would be a tense situation, and it would just mean that we have some kind of conflict between us that is, agitating us, annoying us, and making it a little bit less easy to be with each other. Each other's company.
And it comes from a word that means like tight. If there's a string that's loose, it's the opposite of it being tense, where it's being pulled, it might break.
Right,
but yes.
We talk about the tensile strength of something.
Ooh,
just
there we
what
go.
he's talking about.
For you materials engineers, tensile strength of a cable would hold up the bridge. It actually is a pretty important word. Then finally, of course, there have been a lot of wars. There are a lot of ongoing wars. Please, if you're out there, don't start any new wars. We need to it's easy to start a war. It's hard. There's no stop button for wars. That's the problem.
They tend to run out of control.
Yeah, they just go, and nobody knows. I was reading a verse from the Bible yesterday. It says there is no release from war. Like there's you can't just get out of it when you want to.
Right.
Yeah.
It becomes its own thing.
Yeah, someone's fighting you now. Okay, but we have this word incursion. So for you advanced English listeners, break it down, in and then cursion. We know an excursion means to run out. The word cur there is from running, like a cursor runs over the page. A cursor, it comes from a word that means to run. So incursion means one army typically is running into another country.
Right.
It's like the word invasion.
Yes. I couldn't add anything to that. He described it very well.
Okay. Anyway, there's an incursion. Thank you for incursion.
It sounds like encourage, doesn't it? With an
not.
E, but different. Incursion, that's the military attack over the border. And encourage, of course, is, hey, John, you're doing good. Keep it up.
Thank you. So that's an incursion. Now, after an incursion, you might find that there is a grudge. Grudge is a useful general English term, but if two countries harbor a grudge against each other, it means that they have resentment or anger that is
that they won't
built
let
up.
go of. Of course, John and I used to listen to grudge music back in the 90s, so
That's grunge. Yeah.
he's right.
Though there's probably a
Grunge.
subgenre,
Right.
grudge grunge.
Yeah.
Garage,
grudge.
Sorry, guys. A grudge is when you're angry. Grunge, Grunge, means kind of dirty.
kind of.
Like in a garage,
Right,
and
right.
you haven't washed your hair. And,
And there was a style of popular music back in the 90s called grunge because it was considered to be kind of dirty and kind of
kicking over a trash can and playing your
kind
guitar.
Of, kind of heavy rock kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Nirvana, Soundgarden, if those bands ring a bell for anyone.
So
Probably
if you
not.
play loud grunge music, someone will have a grudge against you. Sometimes we call a fight a grudge match. If two boxers have been yelling at each other
Yes.
online, it's a grudge match. Okay, finally, along with the word incursion, we have this term, a special operation. And I use this with care because we've got the country of Russia and the country of Israel. They each are having what they call a special operation. And it's a term you'll see in the headlines. It really is another word for a war in this case.
Yes, or incursion.
Exactly, but it's kind of calling it something else, a special operation, just to sort of redefine it. I want to differentiate this term, special operation, from a term, special ops, which is short for special operatives, I believe. So a special operation is kind of any old thing. It's just a name for an incursion or a military operation.
Well, it's not any old thing because it is special, of course.
It's special.
But it is a special operation has more applications than special ops.
Yeah.
Special ops means specifically, like John is saying, an elite military team of some sort.
Yes. So the Navy SEALs when we think special ops or spec ops, in the U.S. we think the Navy SEALs or the Army Rangers or Airborne. There are different spec ops guys in all different militaries around the world. But for you military people, that's helpful to know. A special operation is different from special ops. Let's talk politics really quick in the last few minutes here. At least in the States, we have three political branches: the legislative, judicial, and executive. Now, if your brain isn't bleeding by this point, bear with us. This is useful when American politics are discussed.
Right.
You have the legislative, comes from the same word as legal, meaning laws, right? The legislative, we call them Congress.
Right, and the legislative, befitting their name, they make the laws.
They make the laws.
They write them up. There should be a law against this, and so they write it up in the appropriate format, and they vote on it, and it can get passed and become a law.
Yeah, they fight a lot,
Yes.
So you might hear someone say, I don't make the laws, I just keep them. But they can actually say, I make the laws, hopefully keep them.
Yes.
Then there's the judicial. This is the Supreme Court in the U.S.
The judges.
The judges, they interpret the law. They
Right.
say, this is how that it gets applied.
Right, when two people have differing views of the same law and they have a conflict, they have a tension, then they go to court. They go to the judiciary, and the judiciary decides, okay, it means this and not that.
That's right. You get the word judge, right? Judges. These are the judges. And finally, the president and the military. The executive. That is the same word as execute, which means to do something.
Right.
They
carry
go
out
out.
the laws.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You see the word ex, which means out. Execute, going out and doing something. Well, friends, there's more we can talk about. I want to give you two more vocabs, and that's it. We have this word freight, F-R-E-I-G-H-T. This is when we're talking about international trade. Freight means the things that you carry. So a freighter is a freight ship that carries goods.
Yeah, or a freight train, more often in the past, although those freight trains are still in use nowadays, but yeah.
And last of all, there's this word tariffs, okay? Tariffs, we hate them. They're a terrible thing. But a tariff means a tax that countries give each other. And sometimes we fight over tariffs. So we're hoping...
A tax specifically on goods that are coming into the country from the other country. Not a tax on like how much TV you can watch or things that are specific to that country. It's just on trade. That's what all these current words are about. Trade, which is often caught up in politics.
That's right. So countries often raise or lower tariffs to prevent goods coming through or going out. So it's very political, and there's a lot more we could say about tariffs. Okay, freight versus cargo. Oh, that's great. Okay, you could say freight when you mean, so we've got there, does it mean tax? So freight and cargo both mean the things themselves. But when you're looking at an invoice, let's say you get a bill and it says the cost was this much and freight was $10. The freight in that use is also what we do use to represent the price of the transport tax. So freight can be used as a financial term instead of cargo. Yeah, normally you'd say freight for like shipping. Right. In the same way we'd use the word shipping for cost.
Right, but they most commonly mean the same thing. You have freight or cargo. What John is saying is that freight can also be used to mean the system by which the cargo is transferred. It's gone by a freight train, or you travel by freight rather than by passenger in an airplane or a ship, and there's a difference in price.
Yes, and if you're looking at it on a literal paper bill, they sometimes describe the price of shipping as just the word freight. So freight is this much, and so on. In the same way, they might use the word shipping is $10 or something like that. Hopefully that's, I didn't overcomplicate that. All right, friends, well, if you're out there and you have other comments, please leave them below. We appreciate you logging in today. Looks like there is a tie. There is a tie. CNF. Oh, yeah, cargo and freight. There you go. And the environment and military situations are tied in our brains. They occupy our thinking the most. Yep. You think about local laws, though. You're a local laws guy.
Yeah, I'm a local law kind of guy. I want to know, how much I have to pay for stamps, and why the sidewalks are so narrow in some places. No, I don't really.
We do have one or two local laws people out there, and I appreciate them. It's actually really important to think about the local laws. I think we might all be better off if we focused more on the local laws than the big things.
I know, but these days it's so easy to focus on the big things. The international situation, both in our country and in other countries, because it's all out there. You can just, you can
see it.
Transmission of information on the TV and internet and something, it just makes us aware of what else is going on out there.
That's right. Well, friends, we appreciate you. That's all for today. We'll see you next week here on Advanced Weekly
Update.
Update.
Have a good week.